Here are the latest numbers for you out of Stanislaus County tonight. The 3,500-acre Waverly fire is now 10% contained. Mandatory evacuations are in effect from Milton Road to Rock Creek Road to Salt Valley Reservoir. Authorities are setting up an evacuation center at Jenny Lind Elementary School.
Now, the fire started this evening along North Waverly Road east of Linden and spread into Calaveras County. And that's where we find CBS 13's Macy Jenkins with the very latest on the efforts to contain these flames. Macy?
Well, Christina and Tony, at least 50 homes were evacuated in the town of Milton. Hours ago, this entire area was burning. Fire was ripping across it. Now it's in the distance miles away, fueled by strong winds.
Well, you can expect it, but you don't expect it in this magnitude. You know, this is something.
Flames racing across grassy hillsides as Friday night dusk settles in.
Burn from there to there. Still burning. Might go to Highway 4.
The Waverly fire started near Linden in San Joaquin County and quickly spread to Calaveras County. Angry winds making the firefight an uphill battle.
It's pushing the fire through the grass at a rather quick rate.
Now the entire town of Milton has been forced to evacuate.
This wind is pushing the fire southeast tonight as farmers scramble to save their animals before it gets too dark.
You know, we got a couple hundred head of cattle right in here. I had to run them around, get them out of the way of the fire.
But some cattle couldn't escape the flames.
We just got to go around and see if we can salvage the ones that aren't burned up too bad.
Now ranchers like the Valentes have to leave their charred livelihoods behind and hope the fire doesn't survive the night.
This was all their grass for the summer until, you know, next year's rains come. It's gone now, so I don't have an answer yet what we're going to do.
Now, CAL FIRE says they're still investigating what caused this fire, but with these hot and dry conditions this weekend, it will likely go on for the next few days. I just talked to a CAL FIRE spokesperson a few moments ago, and that acreage has gone up to 4,000 acres burned.
It's going to be a long night. Macy Jenkins live on the firefight tonight. Macy, thank you.
A major incident has been declared after two large-scale moorland fires merged. Greater Manchester Police said fires on Winter Hill and Scout Road near Bolton have merged, with pedestrians and motorists urged to stay away from the scene. Lancashire Fire and Rescue Service tweeted, "We're really concerned that members of the public are heading up onto the moors. We really appreciate your offer to help, but public safety is a priority and we ask people to stay away. Keeping windows and doors closed due to the smoke is also advised." Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service said it has 28 fire engines tackling the moorland fires. There are approximately 120 personnel on the moors, split between 7 areas of wildfire in Tameside and Winter Hill, Bolton. Assistant Chief Fire Officer Dave Keelan said, "This is an exceptionally challenging time and I am proud of the hard work and brave commitment of our firefighters." Lancashire Fire Service Area Manager Tony Cook said, "Very intensive firefighting is taking place on Winter Hill, including personnel doing shuttle runs in appliances to get water to the scene while others manually try to beat the fire out."
I just got the latest information for our viewers. 82,000 acres have now burned, and that fire is 25% contained. Here at the fairgrounds, we are getting ready for this new set of crews. More than 2,800 fire personnel have been assigned to this fire, and this is the period where the new crews coming in are going to get briefed. Then they will head out to the fire lines to relieve those who have been there in the overnight hours. I just got this new video from CAL FIRE, and I want to show it to you now because it really helps to paint the picture of what they were doing doing on those fire lines yesterday. This is along California 128, the highway that goes up toward Lake Berryessa just before the Markley Cove closure. This is called a backfire. You'll see in this time-lapse video that there is a crew shooting off a little bit of a flaming spark, if you will, and that will go up toward the hillside. It'll help to create a fire, and then there is an engine down below monitoring those flames to make sure that it doesn't cross the highway. What they're doing is they are creating their own fire line so that they can then create a perimeter for when the fire starts to make its way back down the hill. It will catch its own perimeter, basically like a catcher's glove, and the fire will then stop in that section. Take a listen to what the Public Information Officer from CAL FIRE, Dan Olson, says about this operation.
We like to use that term, fight fire with fire. We use it, it's advantageous for us to control the fire and assist us with that perimeter control.
And so it really is just incredible to see the amount of work that these fire crews are doing, and that has contributed to why we now see the acreage numbers increasing. They did this for about a 16-mile section around the county fire yesterday, covering a lot of different types of uneven and steep terrain. So when we talk about that acreage increasing from 70,000 last night up to 82,000 today, part of those flames and that number is from the backfire operation. Again, more than 2,800 crews are going to be assigned to this fire today from the ground and above, and we're getting ready to watch this briefing here at 7 o'clock this morning so that they will get the rundown of what they need to do as they head out to those fire lines today. We're told the northern end of that fire is going to be the most active, and that is still where there are mandatory evacuations in place.
The UK is forecast to bask in hot weather for a third weekend in a row, with temperatures of more than 30 C widely predicted, but for some the heat wave is proving too much. The hot spell has also opened up a number of sinkholes in roads. A council refuse truck had to be towed out of Old Bath Road in Newbury, Berkshire, after getting submerged in a sinkhole. Veolia, which owns the truck, said none of its crew were hurt in the incident. In Heaton in Newcastle, fire crews were called after a man got his foot stuck in a sinkhole when the tarmac melted. Tyne and Weir Fire and Rescue Service said the 24-year-old man, who has not been named, had to be freed with a hammer and chisel. It said the man had been on his way to buy breakfast when he stepped on some tarmac, lost his footing and went straight through the road. Thankfully he didn't break his ankle as he was wearing his granddad's Dr. Martens. Nearly 100 firefighters battled a huge grass fire which raged for hours near Heathrow Airport. The inferno, which reached the size of 4 football pitches, broke out in Feltham, West London, from just before 4 p.m. on Saturday. 15 fire engines were deployed to try and bring the blaze under control, but it continued to burn long into the evening. A London Fire Brigade spokeswoman said that the long stretch of dry weather was probably the cause of the blaze. She said she was unable to say when the fire would be out, adding, "Grass fires are very unpredictable." A spokesman for the airport said the fire had no impact on its operations and both runways are operating normally, with no delays due to the incident. ALFB spokeswoman added, 15 fire engines and 97 firefighters and officers are dealing with a grass fire on Staines Road in Feltham.
Hiding under the shades and fanning themselves, people try to deal with the scorching weather in South Korea, but they cannot escape from the heat. A heat wave warning has been issued for almost all regions except some coastal and mountainous areas. The temperature in Seoul hit 34 degrees Celsius on Wednesday, and Gwangju was as hot as 36 degrees, much hotter than Tuesday. The weather was worse for Daegu and Gyeongsangbuk-do, with the temperature rising to 37 degrees Celsius at noon. This year, the monsoon season has finished earlier than last year. But South Korea is not the only country experiencing this unusual weather. Other East Asian countries such as Japan and China are also experiencing a heat wave. Experts say that a huge high-temperature belt has formed around East Asia, heating up the region. Some areas of Japan even hit 40 degrees Celsius on Wednesday. The sweltering heat in Japan started last Sunday, and it is expected to continue until the end of the month. Meanwhile, Beijing hit 33 degrees Celsius. The heat wave began on Wednesday after the end of the torrential rain that had soaked Beijing since Sunday. 98.1 millimeters of rain fell on Beijing last Sunday alone, the most ever recorded in Beijing in a single day. As the scorching heat is causing heat stroke in South Korea and Japan, meteorological agencies advise people to avoid excessive outdoor activities and to pay special attention to their health.
Satellite imagery has revealed how the UK's heatwave and drought has changed its appearance. A photo taken in May shows the country covered in green, but another recent image shows it reduced to a shade of brown. The longest heatwave Britain has experienced in 42 years saw just 47 millimeters of rainfall between the 1st of June to the 16th of July. It makes it the driest start to summer on modern records, which date back to 1961. Britain could see its hottest summer on record this year if above-average temperatures continue, according to the Met Office. Another photo taken this month also reveals the effect of the drought, with a Birmingham field left looking more like a Midwest America landscape. The startling contrast was picked up by Reddit users, who thought the photo was shot in the US because of its American look. An electricity pole is the focus of the photograph, surrounded by grass which has become so dry it has turned golden brown. One user commented, "I'm from the UK, but living in America, and I can confirm this photo is exactly like the scenes of the Midwestern farmland."
Japan's meteorological agency has issued warnings for high temperatures after at least 11 people across the country died on Saturday. A heat wave has gripped the country since last week and is expected to last until Thursday. And temperatures reached more than 40 degrees Celsius in central Japan earlier this week. Some areas recorded their highest temperature ever. Authorities are urging people to be sufficiently hydrated to prevent heat exhaustion.
At least 50 people have been killed, half of them in a single village, and more than 170 injured in huge forest fires in Greece amid a sweltering heatwave. Rescuers described a tragic scene in Mati as 26 victims were found tightly huddled in a field about 30 meters, 100 feet, from a beach. Authorities were also investigating reports that up to 10 tourists, possibly Danish, were missing after heading out on a boat to escape the flames and smoke.
we're going to need to bail.
Flames shooting high into the air in the tiny town of Igo, where firefighters are trying to save homes from a blaze that is showing extreme behavior.
We see these just very dramatic torching off of trees and huge flame lengths. That's a little extraordinary.
Extraordinary because the fire is creating its own weather patterns.
Water tender on powerhouse.
With fire swirls exploding through the landscape like a tornado of flames.
It's getting more extreme over these last few years. It's becoming more of the new normal.
A new normal that is forcing thousands of people to flee their homes, including Reading resident Stacy Schrodel.
We got a call about 9 o'clock, a reverse 911 about 9 o'clock telling us to evacuate. But as soon as that call came out, we couldn't get out of our driveway fast enough, and there were just cars backed up.
Many of those who evacuated the fire zone have no idea if their homes are still standing. Larry and Linda Kelly have been staying with friends for the past 3 nights.
We hope to find something out. If we don't, well, that's the way it works. These guys have got their hands full.
I'm just thankful that we're out alive. That's all that really matters.
New video provides an aerial view of a so-called fire-nado. It's essentially a rotating column of fire that formed in Shasta County, producing tornado-like winds last week in Reading. Those conditions left behind damaged rooftops, uprooted trees, and left pieces of metal strewn about. Let's get to Dave in the Weather Center now with more on this effect. Dave?
All right, after studying the damage, they determined they had winds up there at about 143 miles per hour. We're talking in the neighborhood of an EF3 tornado. So we thought we'd give you sort of a graphical look at how this all came together. So check this out. You're going to see this column of heat coming up. And as it goes up, it rises and starts to spin counterclockwise, drawing in the wind coming into this column and thus creating a spiral of flames going up and pulling in all of the smoke. That's where you get those 40, 50, 60 mile per hour gusts going in there and winds in the circulation of 143 miles per hour. So look at this and then take a look at a time lapse of this last Thursday. See, it looks exactly like the graphic. That's exactly what we saw up there, and that's why it was picked up on radar as rotation.
As the temperature soared to near record highs in southern Portugal, hundreds of firefighters battled a forest fire in the Algarve, a popular tourist destination. 2 villages in the hilly Monchique area were evacuated as a precaution. More than 700 firefighters were at the scene and 11 water-carrying aircraft were being used to fight the flames. Hot air from North Africa has caused the most severe heat wave in Iberia since 2003, one of the worst years on record for forest fires. The authorities have been on high alert all week in an effort to avoid a repeat of last year's fires, which killed 114 people. Portugal has brought in various measures including a text alert system to warn those in danger. The government has also hired hundreds more firefighters and ordered landowners to clear undergrowth which can fan fires.
Wildfires on the west side of Oahu are burning out of control tonight. Residents living along Waianae Valley Road have been evacuated after a fire broke out at noon. A shelter has been opened at the Maili Elementary School cafeteria. So far, fire officials have not confirmed if any homes have burned. Earlier in Makaha, a separate brush fire broke out near Keeley Drive. And that's where more than 70 firefighters are battling that blaze. It, too, is getting dangerously close to homes. We have team coverage tonight. Sarah Madison is in Makaha, but we begin with Jen Boniza, who is out in Waianae. Jen.
I'm here on Waianae Valley Road, and I can smell the thick, acrid smoke from the flames. And if you look just behind me, you can actually see the flames on the hillside continuing to eat away at the mountainside. Now, I'm told that this fire burning on the hillside of Lu'ule'ole is currently under control. But you can see the charred remains of what it did to the mountainside earlier today. Several homes were threatened earlier, but again, this current fire under control. Now, the big problem, the one that they're worried about here in Waianae, is Waimea Valley. Now, if you look over to my right, thick smoke. You can barely even see the mountainside there. And if you go a little closer, you can see those flames. Now, they are threatening homes. And this one, very, very dangerous. I was actually able to talk to Battalion Chief Robert Thurston, who was focusing on fighting the fire first on the hillside by Lualualei. Now, he tells me right now the Waianae fire is still burning strong. They got that call again, 11:57 this afternoon. 10 units, 35 personnel currently working to extinguish that blaze. Structures have been damaged, but no confirmation on exactly how many. Now, that fire flared on the hillside between Waimea Valley, Waianae Valley and Lualualei Homestead Road. I'm told that that fire actually jumped from the Waianae Valley fire, not its separate fire. Battalion Chief Thurston said his unit has the Lualualei blaze under control. They're being sent back to Waianae Valley. Chief Thurston tells me that an incident management team has been deployed. He said that IMT are only deployed on large-scale fires such as this. They need to handle both Waianae Valley as well as the Makaha area. Now, I am told again that residents are being evacuated from Waianae Valley. Chief Thurston also told me that he says that this could potentially take 2 to 3 days to make sure that everything is put out so that there are no future flare-ups. Now, again, the fire's still raging on. They haven't even got Waianae Valley under control yet. Again, live here from Waianae Valley. Jen Boniza, back to the studio.